Usually we need 5, right?
Or them may have one on them.
Bye.
Doing great. Hope you all.
Guess I'll read that now.
Hey, how you? Hey, Mr. Rhodes.
Hello, Mr. Rhodes.
Right.
You know, I'd like to call our Thursday, September 19th, 2024 rescheduled regular board meeting of the Bladen County Schools to order. I'd like to welcome all of you that are here. Thank you for your presence and what you do for the school system and most of our children, which make up our school system. This time I'd like to call on Ms. McCoy to our invocation, and after that, we have some students from Elizabethtown Middle that'll lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Now, dear Heavenly Father, Lord, once again we find ourselves looking to the hills from which cometh our help. Realizing, Lord, that all of our help comes from thee. And Lord, we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge just how good you've been to each and every one of us. And for that reason, Lord, we say thank you. And Lord, we also thank you for another opportunity to try to make a difference in the lives of the children of Bladen County. We pray tonight, Lord, that you will step in and give us what we're standing in need of. We will forever, Lord, give you your name to praise. This is our prayer. Amen.
Chair Bennett, board members, tonight we have Sincere Washington, Aiden Murray, and Kennedy Rosie from Elizabethtown Middle School. Please, our pledge.
Pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job.
Yeah.
We're on to number 4, adoption of the agenda. Entertain a motion that we approve the agenda.
I second the motion.
And then moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? There is none. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
All right.
All opposed likewise. Here is none, motion carries. We have adopted tonight's agenda. Move to number 5, approval of the consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
I move
On that.
that we approve the consent agenda.
Second. Then moved and properly seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? There is none. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye. All opposed likewise. There is none. Motion carries to approve the consent agenda. Time is number 6, spotlights and recognition. Dr. Atkinson, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Chairman Ben Fulmer. I'd like to recognize Ms. Ann Brown, our deputy superintendent, for a special recognition.
We are going to recognize, Mike Lashley, and we're gonna give him this award for, going above and beyond the call of duty. One of our stop arms were not working on the bus, and he got out and he was the stop arm to get some of our children across the road and make sure they were safe and didn't get run over that afternoon, and we want to recognize him tonight. Thank you, Richard.
Number 7 on our agenda, citizen participation. Again, Dr. Atkinson, we'll go back to you on that.
Chairman Ben Fulmer, we do have 2 who had signed up prior to the meeting for citizen participation. It says, according to board policy 2310, the first part of at least one regular scheduled board meeting will be set aside for citizens to address the board with public comment. Each speaker will receive 3 minutes to present comments. However, the public comment session will not exceed 30 minutes total, except by majority vote of the board. During the public comment period, the board shall recognize speakers in the order in which they have signed in. Substitute speakers will not be permitted, and speakers may not donate any portion of their time to another speaker. Board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. First, we have Ms. Penny Johnson.
Thank you. Like I said, my name is Penny Johnson, and I'm here today to talk about a biological chemical. Students are having to fight every day a biological chemical that is airborne. They fight targets on them in school and at home. The biological chemical assaults. It bonds to everything and forms assault by the chemical force and energy. It comes off of the surface and it's airborne and you can see it. And it's in the air. It's in the air at school. It's in the air at home. It forms what the government is calling, and I called the FBI and I asked the government. I said, what are you calling this, what we see that's in the air that can hurt us by biological chemical that we have in the air now? I asked the government, I asked the FBI, did we have what they call a chemical wave going on in the United States of America now? Worldwide, they said yes. I asked, could it assault? They said yes. I asked, can it cause death, injuries, and a traumatic brain injury which can make you communicate? Yes. All these things that the FBI is telling me, yes, that I am under attack by a chemical. We all are. Okay. Now it forms what the government is calling a visual, which it means it is a form of something that you can see. A visual is something that we can see, which could be a person, it could be an object. Now, the object, there's a force that comes off of the object, that comes with the object, and what it does is it assaults people. It assaults teachers, students, and people. They are also being assaulted. Their hearts are being assaulted. Students' hearts and people and teachers' hearts are being assaulted. Their chest area and the chemical can be forced through the body. The back becomes open and the chest area too. It bonds to surfaces, buildings, roads, the ground. It bonds to us. That's one of the reasons why that our chest and back area is open and exposed is because the chemical bonds to us. Targets are being thought of and being formed and being communicated to students are having a target, teachers are having a target for this, for people to stay away from them. Targets are illegal. And for the assaults, chemical assaults, people, the targets are illegal. Students and people are having to target to keep the assaults away, the biological, the chemical way.
Ms. Penny, you need to find a good stopping spot. Your time is up.
Okay. Man, that was fast. Okay, now, all of this, and there's more. The government is handling this by denial. They're handling injury, targets, deaths, assault, heart assaults by denial. They don't want any lawsuits or charges, and they get you to a denial, they get the county to denial, and it's not, it's illegal. We need God's help and we need funding ASAP. Thank you.
Thank
Is that the 3 minutes?
you.
Thank you.
That was
Yeah,
well over.
we can ask you questions too, man.
Oh, yeah. That's the question.
Didn't you get more than 3 minutes?
I'm sorry?
Didn't you get more than 3 minutes?
Okay, that's fine. Yes.
Where'd it come from, you say?
The chemical forms by a lot of reasons. We have foreign, chemicals that get in the air. That's on people. What happens too is, there's a chemical that's up here, way up here. They don't tell us the name of it because I asked the FBI many times what the name of it was, and they won't tell us. Because of sabotage and forming this chemical over and over again. And it comes from us, it comes from a force that gets on the land and property and people. And it also comes from sabotage. People get involved with chemicals and they shouldn't get involved with chemicals. It comes from the denial from the government. It comes from people.
And how long has this been going on,
It's
man?
been going on for years, a long time. And we just have a really bad problem. I'm sorry I don't have it so much together with where the chemical comes from. I've been asked that before. And it's hard to get everything in where the chemical comes from. It's something that if there's something foreign with normal, what we call normal, the way we live. And we've had, what was it, green something, X or something that came out in the air. It's like, it was worse than anthrax. Okay, it can get in the air from different reasons why. You cannot you cannot tamper with our normal lives. And we have sabotagers that do. And we have, we had a mass virus. We cannot have mass viruses that are airborne in the air and they come with a force. Like we had, what was it, covert virus? And I think I'm saying it right. But anyway, it comes from different means, and I could write that down, but I'm not really prepared tonight to talk about exactly all the ways it comes. They won't tell us all the way it comes either because of sabotage. Another thing that happened is,
Ma'am, is there any way you could send a letter to the board or something to address this and we'll read over it and all instead of, I mean, I really have no idea. I'm sure nobody on the board does.
yes.
And, if
Send us the
you could
website.
send us a letter or something, I'd greatly appreciate
No,
it.
I
Thanks.
understand, because see, we have to do the denials, because if we don't do denial, we're gonna be sued and charged, and that's what they'll do. FBI is not going with the denial fully. They can't tell us over the phone exactly all the time what's going on, because if they do, they think that they can make people on the phone that's telling them to get involved with chemicals or everything, but they have told me, and I've got recordings of them 2 times.
Well, that'd be fine. If you can send a letter or something, we got a meeting we really need to have to address.
And students are being hurt in school. They're being attacked,
Absolutely, I agree.
and the community's being attacked, but we're talking about students now.
Mr. Chairman, could you
Uh,
help with this?
Mr. Rhoda, you got any more questions?
No, sir, I don't.
Anybody else got any questions?
Yes, question number.
And you through, Mr. Edwards?
Any questions?
Okay, that's all the questions, Ms. Johnson. Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And next year, within the board, we have, Ms. Penny McCallum.
Good evening. My name is Penny McCown, and tonight I would like to address the future of the former Plainview Elementary School. As a recent graduate of Wayne Community College, I have been given a strong foundation of an educational foundation to build upon. I would like to see the former Plainview Elementary School turned into a learning center, a preschool, and an after-school care program. This building would give me the opportunity to help needy families in our community and in our county. Without good childcare, it is significantly, it restricts our labor supply for our economy. Having a safe and reliable childcare business in our area will help other businesses to retain employees by reducing their turnover rates. There will also be an increased productivity because employees can stay focused on the task at hand, not have to worry about where their child is at, what their child is doing, is my child safe? When you have parents and caregivers who can work long-term and who has a steady income, this will also put more money back into our county and the surrounding counties as well. My vision for the former school not only will help families with childcare needs, but it will also benefit the community as well. There will be employment opportunities because this is a very large facility that will allow up to 300 children in the building. So there is a numerous amount of opportunity, job opportunities for adults. And also, I also have a vision for a community garden there. This will educate the children on how to grow their crops and how to harvest it and where their food comes from. And I would also like to partner with BCC Blake Community College as well with this community garden. And so the students can have a more hands-on experience with the child care itself, with the agriculture, horticulture, and possibly the welding and carpentry departments as well to benefit the community garden. The community garden will also assist our community with free food as the garden permits. There's an old proverb that said, it really takes a village to help raise a child. And this is so true. It takes an entire community to have a hand in the healthy upbringing of our children and their development as well. It is important to give a child every opportunity to succeed in today's time. And this former school is the greatest opportunity for a lot of families in our community and in our county. Thank you. Any questions?
Yes, I do. You said that we would partner with Blake Community College. Who is we?
Me and my employees, I would.
Who's your employees? What
Employees,
organization?
Employees, yes. Would I have a partner? Maybe not. I would want to own and operate the daycare specifically myself. But with the employees, I really want to surround myself with a lot of open communication with my employees so we can have a successful childcare business.
Okay, would you be wishing to ask for like full consent of this facility? Because I've had a lot of people from that area. They've reached out to me and they want to have it for community, other stuff, and I would love to see the building be used for the community in general. And that's my opinion, but I mean, I understand what you're saying, but I would love to see everybody come together and, create a situation where, yes, we could have childcare. Yes, we could have community events.
Right.
I would love to see the facility used.
Right.
And
The place is very large and I can see the benefit of all of that you mentioned.
Ma'am, you're not a nonprofit, are you?
No, I'm not.
I don't know if we could run a business through that like that. I don't know. That's the alternative.
Mr. Grady addressed, there's some specific statutes as it relates to that. We've already made an offer to the county. The county has refused, they have the first right refusal, Mr. Grady. It's a big, about what the statute states about, school buildings and their sale.
Well, I mean, basically, we have to make a determination that the property is no longer necessary for school purposes. We then have to offer you as a first right of refusal.
Mhm.
If they elect not to purchase the property, then the Board of Education is under a constitutional obligation to receive fair market value for the property.
But my question
And there's
is,
some instances where we have conveyed to nonprofits with certain stipulations. Generally, to do that, in most of these situations, we've had legislative approval.
the answer to my question is that you probably couldn't run a business.
That's the sole owner of the property.
Yeah, without being a nonprofit, you couldn't do that, I don't think. Maybe we can give you the building and let you do.
Oh, I'm good with that. But it is a great facility. It has a lot of potential for the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to number 8, information items, 8.01, overview of school accountability data for 2023 and 2024. Thank Mr. McCarthy.
Good evening, everyone. Have a reviews the information that we've been waiting for, our test information from last school year. This is a comparison from the 2022-23 school year to the current data based off of the 80-20 formula that we have right now. You can see there the areas that are in red, those are where our performance grade has dropped from the previous year. We currently have Bladen Lakes Primary School had a letter grade of a D. They did meet their growth. Bladenboro Primary School had a letter grade of a C. They exceeded their growth. Dublin Primary School had a letter grade of a D. They met their growth. East Arcadia, for the first time, when we moved 5th grade down to, or included 5th grade in East Arcadia, that gave them enough information that they now count on our growth measure. They had a letter grade of a D, met their growth. Elizabethtown Primary School had a letter grade of a D, met their growth. There's a blank line there for Plainview, where Plainview closed. We had data from the previous year. Their data has now combined in Tar Heels data. Bladenboro Middle School had a D, did not meet growth. Clarkson School of Discovery had a D and exceeded growth. Elizabethtown Middle School was an F, did not meet growth. Tar Heel Middle, D, met growth. East Bladen High School was a C, met their growth. West Bladen High School was a C, met their growth. And Bladen Early College achieved an A for the first time in Bladen County. So 10 out of our 12 schools met or exceeded growth. 8 of our schools had growth grades that were in the 80s. So that's amazing growth for those schools. Bladenboro Primary School, their performance grade increased from a D to a C this year. Clarkson School of Discovery, their growth went up 25.3 points. Tar Heels growth increased 25.9 points. Some areas that we do have for improvement, looking over our data, Dublin, their growth dropped about 10.8 points. Bladenboro Middle School's growth dropped 29 points. Elizabethtown Middle School's growth dropped 11.2 points. East Bladen's growth dropped 14.4 points. So those are some of our just an overview of the data from last year. On the next page, we have our state and federal designations. The state designations that we have, low performing schools. If a school has a performance grade of a D or an F, and their school accountability growth score did not meet or met expected growth, then they're qualified as low performing. So you can have a school that comes in and they've met their growth with a D or an F, but they're still considered low performing. The only way you can not be a low performing school is if you D or F and exceeded growth, or if you were A, B, or C school. And then we've got federal designations, TSI, which is targeted school improvement, consistently underperforming subgroups. Any school with one or more of the same subgroup receiving a grade of F based on the school performance grade analysis for the most recent and the previous 2 years. And then TSI, just the targeted, additional targeted support, that's TSI-AT. Any school with one or more subgroups for which the school performance grade is below the highest identified CSI schools, all students were in the identification here. And if the school was on the CSI consistently underperforming group the previous year. And then the CSI, the comprehensive support and improvement, low performing, that's the lowest performing 5% of all public schools. The subgroups that caused us to be into these areas are Black subgroups, our students with disabilities, and our English learners. So if we look over at the chart there on the left-hand side, Bladen Lakes Primary School was low performing, continually low performing. Bladenboro Primary School did not have any state or federal designation. The reason being that they were C and they exceeded their growth. Dublin Primary was low performing, continually low performing. East Arcadia was low performing based off of their, not so much off their growth, but off of their proficiency rate. Elizabethtown Primary School was low performing, continually low performing, and they had the federal designation of the TSI based off of their students with disabilities subgroup. Bladenboro Middle School was low performing. They were also TSI based off of the Black subgroup and the students with disabilities subgroup. Clarkton School of Discovery, because they exceeded growth, they did not get any state or federal designation. Elizabethtown Middle School, low performing, continually low performing, and CSI. Tar Heel Middle School was low performing, again, the Black subgroup and the English learner subgroups. East Bladen, West Bladen did not have any state or federal designations. And because of the size of our subgroup, we only had 23 students that counted as in our testing. Bladen Early College did not receive any state or federal designation. So we had 7 out of 11 schools designated as low performing. That forced our district into being a low performing district for this year.
And Mr. McCarthy, if I could chime in so the board understands the 80-20 model. And we included this in the letters that went home. The formula that the state of North Carolina has put in place, and probably North Carolina is one of 2 states that has a formula quite like this. The state has put 80% emphasis on one single test score that a child makes, and 20% on what teachers do with kids the entire semester. Let's think about it a minute. 80% on one single test score. 20% on what teachers and staff do with kids all day long, every day for 175, 80, whatever the number is, days plus instruction. So when these kind of things are put out there, it's very discouraging and confusing to parents and staff whenever we have growth at schools, 50% and even higher than that. So that tells us that kids are growing academically, but our emphasis has been on a single test score. We all know some people just don't do well on tests. They may do well academically throughout the school year. That's why I asked Mr. McCarthy, we've had a lot of advocacy at the state level to change this formula to 50-50. You ask any superintendent, board member, anyone in education that will tell you there needs to be an equal basis between growth, which is what they do in their classroom every day. So what North Carolina is saying to our teachers and staff, what you do is only worth 20% of what that grade means for a school. I think that's ludicrous. When our folks work hard every single day. So when you see when Mr. McCarthy talks about the growth measures, even some of the subgroups that have been named here and called out in some of this have achieved astronomical growth still, but it's still not enough because it's only 20% of that grade. So it doesn't tell the whole picture. And so we sent the low performing letters home. I want parents to understand what that formula looks like, because they wouldn't know otherwise. It's just sad. And North Carolina legislature has the power to change that. We have the power to change that. There's been some work trying to be done on it, but we've been told that because there's gonna be a new state superintendent, that they halted all that work on that. But we had a lot of meetings and we were making progress toward the 50-50. And I've asked Mr. McCarthy to show you all tonight what that 50-50 looks like, with 50% emphasis on that test score, 50% emphasis on what teachers and staff are doing with kids every single day.
And anyone who's been in education knows that if I were as a teacher to base how a student performs in my classroom off of one test on the end of the year and use that test to determine whether or not that child deserves to go to the next grade, everyone in this room would understand that that would not be fair to that child. But unfortunately, that's what the state does to the
I
school.
understand that, Mr. McCarthy,
Um,
and I'm gonna ask you a question.
Yes.
If there's one school up there that needs an emphasis or as help, where would you put it at?
Well, obviously, we want to hit our school that's lowest right now.
Would that be Elizabethtown Middle School? You know what, sometimes the board, the superintendent, they have to make a choice to try to send somebody to a school that would help it. I don't think the community, some of these educators that may have left the community, I don't think they should bash this board, because I've heard a lot of false numbers. I've heard a lot of stuff. But tell them to look at that number. And that's where we're trying to send some of the better and best educators to help these kids. So if anybody wants to bash this board, superintendent or anybody else, them numbers show we trying to do the right thing. And I hope people realize that.
And I'll interject something else too, and this is, again, we're not, even in a skewed system, we ran the numbers just locally. We've got neighbors, Robinson, Michael City, Columbus. And I think the top 6 schools, even with the growth measure, were Bladen County schools out of all those just neighborly. So I mean, I'll tell you, when you look at our growth, our people are working hard every day. It's just a slap in the face from the state of North Carolina to put these performance grades out here that put 4/5 of emphasis on a single test score. That child might have not felt well that day. That child may have test anxiety. We have a lot of kids that have test anxiety.
And we had how many schools to
10 out of our 12 schools met or exceeded growth. That's something to celebrate tonight.
That's
10
really,
out of 12 schools met growth in this. That's so good. We've got to tell our story. We have to tell our story, because North Carolina, the state's not going to do it. We've got to tell our story, and that's what we're going to do. Our people are working hard every day. We've got some quality educators in this county who are working hard every single day with our children. Proficiency is one thing, but I look at growth because that tells me a child is moving from point A to point B in an academic year. Our people are working hard.
And this is one other thing I just want to share real quick before we move on. One of the things I can do is I can go through and I can look at the actual data for individual subgroups. I've had right here, it's too big to just share. But every one of these that you see in yellow is where our proficiency has gone up from last year. So you can see that Bladen County Schools is growing. And one of the subgroup actually that has made the most growth, that's our Black subgroup. These are all of the different tests from all subjects, all of the students that are in grades 3 through 8, reading, math, science, and then the high school courses down here. 28 out of 32 tested areas are Black subgroup.
All right now.
So they're getting it done. And I've used this example before, we talk about when we talk about growth, if someone goes to the doctor and they weigh 400 pounds and they lose 100 pounds, they go back to the doctor in a year. Do we celebrate the fact that they lost 100 pounds, or do we still criticize them for being 300 pounds? That's what's happening here. We're being criticized because we're still struggling to get to where we need to be, but we're making that growth. It just takes time for us to make that growth.
And this is another sheet Mr. McCarthy just worked through this week. I'm gonna get this for the board, let you all see. This is an additional piece he worked on. I'll send to you all as well, so y'all can see that.
This chart here, we have, these are our achievement score comparisons. You can see some of our schools, they've been growing. It's still a little bit low. This is proficiency. You can see we have some schools that are still below 50%. You can see Bladen Early College there at the end has made great growth. They're up there above 75%. They're actually above 80% with their proficiency. See, I've got Bladen Lakes is at 37.5, Bladenboro Primary School 50.3. But if you look where they were last year, Bladen Lakes 38 to 37.5, but Bladenboro Primary School 41.3 to 50.3. That's 9 points. 48.6 to 48.4, 34.2 to 32.1 at E-Town Primary. Bladenboro Middle School took a little bit of a dip there. Clarkton took a little bit of a dip. E-Town Middle did grow some, went from 25.3 to 27.4. Art Hill went from 35 to 35.9. East Bladen there went from 63.8 to 61.8. Bladen Early College went from 82.2 to 82. The next page is talking about the school growth comparison. This is where we look at these great growth that our schools are making. You can see we've got Bladen Lakes Primary School, 81.7 was their growth. Bladenboro Primary School, 86.9. Dublin Primary School, 75.9. East Arcadia, first time that we've had them with enough students, 83.4% growth. Town Primary School, 80.3. Plainview, we closed down Plainview, so they're not there anymore. Bladenboro Middle School, struggled a little bit last year. They only had 59.4%. Clarkton, 87.5. E-Town Middle made 67.8% growth. Tar Heel, 84.7, up from 58.3 last year. East Bladen, 80.5. Now, last year, they knocked it out of the park last year, 94.7. It's hard to top that again. 86.6 to 84.2, and then Bladen Early College is at the bottom there, 87% growth. I'm sorry, you jumped ahead of the slide. Bladen Early College did not have enough to grow. But if you look at Elizabethtown Primary School, 2 years ago, Elizabethtown Primary School was at 59.5. Up to 77.2, up to 80.3. So Elizabethtown Primary School is another school that is really doing what needs to be done. The school performance growth this is our grade comparison. You can see Bladen Lakes went from 46 to 47, stayed down at 46 again. Bladenboro Primary, 43 to 50 to 58. Dublin, 44 to 56 to 54. East Arcadia, 45. E-Town Primary. Again, even though their proficiency is going up, because of that, they're still hanging right down there about 42. If we look at Dublin and Clarkton missed C status by 1 point. It was 55 points. Dublin came in at 54, and CSD came in at 54. So two schools that ended up as Ds that should have been Cs. Very easily could have been Cs. And West Bladen came in at 69 with their school performance grade. The cutoff for a B would have been 7, so they missed it by 1 point as well. The next page here is where we start looking at some of our other models and what would have happened had our schools, if we were on a model that was more fair, for lack of a better term here, talking about giving more emphasis onto the growth performance. So 70-30 model. If we just took 70% from the proficiency rate and went 30% to the growth, we'd only have 6 out of 11 schools would be low performing. Elizabethtown Middle School, just that small change, they lose their F stats. They finally get up to that D stats. 5 schools, Bladenboro Primary, Clarkton, Elizabethtown Middle School, East Bladen, and West Bladen would all increase the letter grade. That's just shifting it from 80-20 to 70-30. You look at the next slide, you can see what would happen if it was a 60-40. only 3 out of our 11 schools would be low performing. That would take the county off of the low performing status. Again, Elizabethtown Middle School lose their F. 7 schools, Bladen Lakes, Bladenboro Primary, Clarkton, Elizabethtown Middle, Tar Heel, East Bladen, and West Bladen would improve a letter grade from last year. And then finally, the one that we really want to have is that 50-50 model, where you're giving just as much emphasis to the growth that the students are making throughout the course of the year. Same thing, we were looking at only 3 out of our 11 schools would still fall in at low performing. Elizabethtown Middle School, no F status, and again, those 7 schools would lose that, would increase their letter grade from the previous year. So Bladen County Schools are doing some good things. We just want to, this shows you, this is a graph showing what would happen to the actual school performance grades if we were on that 50-50. You can see where we are now. Bladen Lakes Primary, that 46, they would be at a 60. Bladenboro Primary, that 58 will go to a 69. Dublin Primary, the 54 will go to a 62. East Arcadia, 45 will go up to a 60. E-Town Primary, 42 will be a 56. Bladenboro Middle School, the 45 will be a 51. Clarkton, the 54 will be a 66. E-Town Middle, that 35 will become 48. Tar Heel, the 46 will be a 60. East Bladen, 66 will be a 71. West Bladen, 79 will become a 75. Look down there at Bladen Early College. That 87 will be all the way up to a 95 if we actually counted these students with the growth that they're making throughout the course of the year, as opposed to just basing it off of that one test. And then this, again, it just shows you the breakdown of what we're looking at as far as what the actual letter grades would be. You can see if we got to that 50-50 model, we would have no F schools, we'd have 2 D schools, we would have 7 schools that were C's, 2 B's, and 1 A. Hope the state will get through with things, we come with things that are more equitable for our students and not just basing it off of one day of performance.
So, Mr. McCarthy, question.
Yes, sir.
Since we're still on the 80-20 rule and we have not gotten DPI to see what we are seeing or to align up with what we're seeing as far as a 70-30 or a 60-40 even, what do we need to do to better the test scores for us and to get better results on the 80-20 rule? Because until we change it, we're still going to be governed by the 80-20 rule.
I understand that, and you know that we're having, you can't move the growth but so much, and if working on the growth isn't not impacting the grade, we've got to get our proficiency levels up. Our proficiency levels are rising. We're trying to improve those a little bit more. I know several of our schools have already been working with tutoring as far as this year goes. They've got their people in place and they're trying to work with the students from the beginning of the year to help fill in some of those gaps they have to try and improve their proficiency. I know some other things that we're looking at. We've got our new reading curriculum that went into place last year. That was a little bit of a learning curve for teachers. They've become a little bit more familiar with it using it through the course of the year, know some things that are going to work better. So we're looking forward to bringing that proficiency up. To get that proficiency up and keep that growth up, we could very easily get our schools moved up. I know some things we're doing, some of our schools that are already low performing, we have district staff that are going to be partnering with those schools. And I think Dr. Atkinson's going to talk about that a little bit.
Next item.
So we do have a plan of some things that are going to be put in place, that are being put in place right now to work on bringing those proficiency levels up at those schools.
One thing I'll add too is, as a challenge too, the state continues to renorm standards. We renorm a test, it doesn't count for a year. We teach that to learn a whole new set of standards. They get used to that for a year or two. They're trying to move kids and the state says we're going to change them again. So we've had changing standards in ELA, math, and science. In fact, science is brand new this year. So we'll take a dip in science because it's all brand new standards. So that's another thing that's challenging, you know, let's agree on what we want that are, should be grade level standards and let's keep them in place. But when you're constantly changing standards, having to redo tests, you know, teachers are always in a whirlwind, just trying, okay, we just got used to this set of standards, so. And that's impacting, and I'll tell you, the districts that suffer the worst are your rural districts that don't. They continue to cut our resources. But you know, a lot of that is where they continue to even change standards, so that's aligned to the assessment, so. And you know, it's just a lot of extra work they're doing that's really taking folks off track. When they get used to something after about 2 or 3 years, they're flipping and changing to something else.
So, Mr. McCarthy, of those things that you just spoke of that the district is implementing to help us with this, can you elaborate for the board what some of those things are, and at the same time, what will we gain by implementing those things across the board? Because every school is going to have to make specific changes. Some schools are doing better in some areas than others, but we have to streamline each school based on their performance to get them all across the threshold.
Won't that be an information item 8.02?
I'll go with that.
Yes.
Is this coming?
Could be. Could be.
Ms. McCarthy, I got a question.
Yes.
Mr. I forget his name, the other testing guy. Mr. Henson, he gave us a spreadsheet about each school with each grade and what their tests were in math, English, and science. Why we can't get that now?
I can have that for you. I'll get that to Dr. Atkinson and get that out to you.
Could you send it to you?
You know,
Yeah, right.
you know, like E-Town Middle, who've been having bad grades for years. You know, they had a 10% math grade. I guess 2 or 3 years in a row, and I was just wondering how they were doing it.
I think that's what you just ran, Mr. McCarthy there. Subgroups, so we'll get that to you all.
We can give you, you can get a copy of, performance for every single school, every single subgroup at every school, based off of every single test. I can get that for you tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, what about the NC check-in test? Did we get results of that?
The NC check-in tests really are their purpose is to be used as a teaching tool for the teachers.
But it takes a lot of the computers out of the equation and lets you really know what you have true.
As far as you can see exactly what the students are, the way the check-in tests work is teachers, you know, we administer the check-in tests in grades 3 through 8 in all of our EOC tested areas. Now there is a little bit of a delay. I just got an email yesterday. There's a little bit of a delay on the science. So the science test, I think, is going to probably be pushed back about a week or so. But what they do then is once that test is given, the teacher can then go through, they can actually pull up the test question with the students in the classroom. They can go over the test question.
I'm fine with that. Can I get the results of them just in general, how the school performs?
Yes, I think I can, I should be able to print something out as a PDF and share that.
No, thank you.
Share that with the board, please.
Okay, you'll send it to me and I'll send it to all 9 board members. One thing with the check-ins, and that's considered formative, so there may be some things on there that teachers have not gotten to yet. So we, you know, those are more for just kind of guidance where they are. That does, the beauty of this for teachers is it does drill down to the standards. So that lets them know if only 5 kids did well on standard 1.03, then they know we got to go back to some reteaching on that. So that's definitely a big help for them. Yeah.
We good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McCarthy, and we'll move on to 8.02, school improvement plans and district improvement plans for low performing schools.
All right, thank you, Chair Benton, Board Member, Mr. Carter, and Mr. Carter works closely with our school improvement process, obviously, because that's part of the data. The board does have a copy of the guest IDs and logins for those schools are working on those actively. We bring those to you tonight just for information so that you can look at those. They will have to vote on next month. Once the board approves those, they go to, have to be sent to the state board in 5 days of that. We typically try to give you a preview a month of those. The district improvement plan, which we have in place. Just want to kind of go through some high level things on this here. You have a copy. This is also for information tonight. You all will vote on this as well next month. As it relates to our district improvement plan, it is aligned with NC STAR state standards, which is what the state requires and what we've been doing. It's in line with our strategic plan. And what we say and the way that we move forward, I think what has spoken well of the progress that has been made is we are truly starting to move as an aligned system. We're not working in isolation in individual schools anymore. We've got collaboration across our schools and across our leadership. And that makes a big difference with folks who are working together for the same cause. And I think that's important. Our strategic plan did a lot of that work and our collaborative efforts and our PD efforts are focused on that. One thing that we state in part of the district improvement plan that each school is going to be required to embed strategies directly at improving academic proficiency and growth in their plans. So all those plans have to have a goal. That's a district expectation as it relates to improving proficiency and growth. We do state that schools should focus on tailored instruction and interventions to meet the needs of students who are struggling. That's what we talk about the tutoring. So we did put that expectation in there as well. That could also be done during the school day and in different rotations with an intervention schedule. Also, we continue to drill down. We want the data to get as deep as we can for educators. So not only just surface layer, well, we know X% has growth. Well, and in that X%, what does that number look like to go down to the standard level? That's what the check-ins do for them as it drills down to those specific standards. That's good to have. We will tell them that their goals have to be specific and measurable. So there has to be a measure of growth to see if we've had success in that growth. They should be SMART goals. That stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And they are reviewed regularly. Our schools do an outstanding job in their school improvement process. They have 2 meetings per month, and Mr. McCarthy ensures that compliance. And we do work close with them. One part of that too does, for especially local schools, is increase central collaboration. So we have assigned every single local performance school with district admin coach that will work alongside their school improvement team. They're required to visit at least once weekly. They also are part of their school improvement team and to be that liaison working through this process. Many of those schools are just a point or two from flipping that switch. So they've made progress. It's just we've got to get them over the hump. We'll regularly monitor the progress of each school improvement initiatives. We'll be placing coaching comments on each school's plan. There have basically a district coach within that will be providing that feedback and therefore them. Also, when these are pushed to the state, Raleigh is also supposed to provide feedback. Although last year they were sent around this time or in October. Some schools didn't get the feedback to April. That's too late in the academic year from the state. But we'll make sure that we do that here at the local level. All of the goals we do ask them to align with the district strategic plan, which is founded upon NC STAR, which is a requirement, and that they should review and adjust strategies. A plan does no good if you do the plan, put it on the shelf. When we're meeting monthly on these plans, or schools are meeting on these plans, they have to adjust. This strategy is working. We need to figure out how to expand it. This is not working. This is what we need to do in terms of doing that.
And there's actually a place in the school improvement plan for data where schools will be instructed to make sure that they're going in there, they're putting in what their base level is, where they're starting from now. And then after we do our check-ins and as the year goes on, they can adjust. And so, if they're at 35%, they take their check-ins and they come in and their check-ins are maybe up to that 40%. That becomes their new base level. So it's kind of like building on steps as they move up. So we're really make sure that our coaches are going out and monitoring that and making sure that that is being followed and adjusted as it goes.
Right. Some specifics on that, and we've kind of touched on a couple of these already because this plan, you have to put things in different places. is the support and monitoring, the district assignment of support coaches. We are encouraging those schools, and Mr. Carter said that many of them already have in the high dosage tutoring, utilizing their dollars for that. Focused PD targeted for those specific needs in the building. So if there's a struggle, particular standard. We've even done some team teaching and done some things across buildings. So we may have someone that has a skill set, a particular standard, and they may even switch classes even within the building. Or we may even do use the power of technology as well to bring that instructor into that class to assist. So we're trying to look at all kind of options. We've targeted our curriculum specialists, specific priority, they'll serve all schools, but prioritizing the low performance schools and we're working with them. We'll be requiring quarterly data meetings at the district level with those schools to look at their data. So they won't be on the island by themselves. We'll do some of that with all the schools together, talk about trends. Because from time to time, we do see things that are common across all of them. And what can we do as a district to work through those particular things? And then sometimes there's things that's unique to a specific population or specific school. And so that's the importance of having those individual data meetings as well as the corporate ones. And then obviously working to align our resources. I think we've done a much better job of doing that. Anything that's, we do as far as the district is concerned. And then also encouraging them that if there's a thing they've been using that's not giving the data they need, they don't need to keep it. They need to utilize resources that are in school, the data that they need for that. Talk about the process, the school meetings, district meetings, the coach engagement, and prioritization of resources. So that's really kind of, some things Mr. Carter's already touched on as it relates to the testing accountability data. But some things that we are working again, just like the school's plans, this is an ever evolving plan. This is all we're captured by your vote in next month is that you're affirming those plans as the progress they have made at this point. But if a school improvement plan or even a district improvement plan is doing its job, it should change. There's no cookie cutter approach that can apply to every school, everywhere, all the time. And even across districts. Sometimes our state department kind of does that. They think everybody should be doing this. But sometimes there's things you have to be that way. But I will say that, this is an ever living, breathing, evolving plan, and it should be that way.
How long, Dr. Atkinson, how long will we have to review, a detailed plan?
We've got,
Give us at least a week.
well, you've got the logins now, so y'all got all to, our October meetings when we'll do those, so we've got about a month. About 3 weeks actually now, because we had to.
So you're pretty much, you don't have to add anything to it, you're good.
Well, schools are meeting now, so they may have to make some adjustments. What you guys have is actually real time, so you could, if they make any changes, you can see it at the same time they make it. Those logins you all have, you can see everything. In fact, I think it even archives the change. You can see what the changes have been in there. So if I'm not that mistaken, I believe it does keep a log of what's changed. We are putting these out as well as required by legislation for parental feedback. Parents will have that login, they can provide feedback. Those will be on our website. We have a period of 2 weeks where parents can provide feedback, and schools can also consider that as well. So we're trying to reach every stakeholder, even the community. Those will be on our website. We want that feedback, and we want get folks to help us. So that's why we want to do that. But that's being done pretty much simultaneously as you all review those as well.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCarthy.
Good job.
Now we'll move on to 8.03, review of RFQ for design build services.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. This is a draft of an RFQ for design build. This is specific to the Bladenboro Primary and Littlestown Primary projects. The county commissioners did approve unanimously to support our application to the needs-based capital fund. That has been sent to Raleigh. It was sent ahead of schedule. So now we're waiting. We have developed the RFQ. We can put that out there to get information about design build services, and the board could hear. I will find out just specifically before we release it from Raleigh if there's a timeline when they may make announcements regarding the reward. Just because we do an RFQ does not mean we're awarding a specific contract. We will be able to get the information and the board will make a decision at such time. Those dates obviously were just for draft purposes. We obviously want to know when the State Department is going to potentially award those. That was a part of the budget. Original budget bill was continued. So those funds are there. We're just hopeful that they'll realize that Bladen County Schools needs another blessing from the needs-based capital fund. Basically, the local match is $1,650,000. When we went to the county commissioners, I went first time, they tabled it, asked me to come back again. I did, share information with them about that need. This RFQ actually shows that narrative. We know what the need is there. This was the next project on our capital needs, request, that you all, had worked through and we've been working on. We're just hopeful that, this will happen because these are dramatic needs. Both of those schools and Specialist Town Primary is extremely out of room. There's no reason why kids should be eating lunch as early as they have to in Town Primary. So, we're just hopeful this is gonna happen, and that we, will be able to move forward with another, project. I think it was, the 5% match. We'll be able to realize that, from, tax credits back from Tar Heel for the solar. Basically, it becomes a net zero for the county. Those funds have to go back to the county. So this, in essence, provided there's no hiccups along that way, and shouldn't be, there's a zero cost to taxpayers in Bladen County. We're being able to get $34 billion approximately worth of construction at those two buildings for the cost of $1.65 million that may be underwritten or should be underwritten by these fund tax credits coming back from Tar Heel to the county. So, that's just for your information. Once we know from when I find out from Nathan Mahoney when the potential awards may be, I'll share that with you all, and then we'll probably release this fairly soon just to see what we can get. Again, there's no rush to go under contract with anyone at this point, just to get things out there, because we know that there'll be several projects coming out. We hope we're one of them. But we tried to express that need in our application to Robin. Thank you, Chairman Bennett, for your support as well on this.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Axe, for that update. This time we'll move to 8.04, update on Blackbird Middle Auditorium and Wing.
Madam Chairman, gentlemen of the board. Just to bring an update with the auditorium and old wing at Blackbird Middle. I got Mr. Raymond Service with GNR Environmental. I had it retested again, so we would know exactly what we're saying and is there anything that can hurt the kids or the staff if we open that wing or what we need to do. So, I'll let him explain the test result. Did they get them?
They have a copy.
Okay. So he can explain it to you.
First, I think Dr. Atkinson and Ms. Brown and Benny for inviting me here to discuss this. And any questions you might have, hope we can resolve and answer those. I'll start off with going back to 2019, when the health department and David Lipton from the Health Hazard Control Unit out of Raleigh came down and did some testing. Their report is in the last section of my report. Their report references pretty much all the things that I saw and some more. Their report normally doesn't recommend a whole lot. It doesn't show you where they did any testing and what testing they did. I know what they did, but in the report, the one thing to remember in that their report is they found 38% of the total air samples to be a certain mold spore, Aspergillium penicillium, which is a very strong allergen. When we retested 4 years later, we found that same spore at 60% of the total. So it's wrong. From not having pictures from their report, pretty much the interior is a complete gut. First, I'll address the outside. The outside is 93 years old. The border is deteriorating. Just sealing it is not going to do the job. You do what they refer to as point tucking. In this case, it's called repair tucking. They'll come in and they'll remove the outer layer of the mortar from the outside and put new. And at that time, then I would recommend to spray over that. Also, structurally, as you walk around it, there's cracks everywhere, especially down on the lower part, 3 or 4 feet before we get to the crawl space. You'll see it a lot. So really structurally, I'm not a structural engineer, but that's something you may want to have someone to come and address that. Also looking at the outside, you'll see the windows. That's another source of the majority of the water that's coming into the building. Recommending if you replace the windows and the lintels, and when you replace the lintels, the price just goes sky. You probably could be looking at a couple $100,000 or more just to replace windows. You go into the inside, I think you saw some of the pictures. The plaster walls completely deteriorating. So to go in and if you do a renovation, you're gonna have to tear it all the way back to the outside walls. And then that way you'll see the buildings I've done that way, all of a sudden you'll look out from the outside, but once you take that interior surface off, it's amazing the daylight you can see coming through this wall. So that needs to be removed. The bricks need to be dried. Window replacements, now you go further inside, the wooden floors that buckle to the floor, you can't refinish. Floors have to come up. Then you look at the crawl space, it's wet, it's dirty. So you gotta clean that. All these are preliminary things. And that's, in a renovation like that, that's labor intense. It costs the price to go up even more. Or all the different things. There might be a few more, I'm not looking at those that I recommend that have to be done inside and out. You got gutters that are not properly flushing away from the school. There's holes around it. So it's bumping up, going back under. So there's a lot of repair work and labor costs needed before you get to do it. I'll check around with a few people that I work with, demo guys, and bring some dimensions and square footage on what would it cost to demo the building. You're looking at $100,000 to $125,000. You don't have to worry about asbestos, you don't have to worry about lead paint, because during the demolition, lead paint becomes a composite of the building, so that's not a hazard. We talked about, I think I also recommended that the roof may need to be replaced. Inside, new HVAC for Douglas Jordan. And HVAC today, I highly recommend when you look into it, would be the dehumidification system. I don't know the times that I have recommended this when it comes down to the last final thing, and they say, no, that's too expensive, cut it out of the budget. And later on, it'll come back and bite you, because you need dehumidification. From that standpoint, all speakers that I've talked to, a couple of the school systems I work with, and they don't do this. The new building, they say 350, 375 square foot. You're looking at $4.5 million for a new building of that size. Well, 12,500 square feet. And to demo it and gut it and renovate it, you're looking at around 400 by that, which puts it up to 5. And along with when you renovate one, you have to put in upgrade your plumbing, upgrade your electrical. And if it exceeds, I want to say 17,000 square feet, you have to put a sprinkler system in it. And that's another additional cost. So those numbers just keep rising. So those are some of the things we found. The astroturf facility is growing inside. We did, by doing tape samples, we found stachybotrys, they're called platinum, sitting there, it's getting wet every day. In the warm weather, you've got a constant source of water coming into it. Around the windows, through the walls, and warm and dark places, that'll grow. So those are some of the things that we saw. Renovation, demolition, building your school, all those are out of mind for today.
So you think it can be renovated? Well, you've got all these following or recommendations for renovation.
I'm not recommending renovation. I'm not recommending. I think most of the schools that I've worked with, all the teachers, especially middle, students are excited about a new building. Frederick Douglass, very old school up in Wilson County, completely demoed.
But we're not gonna get a new building. They tear it down, we're gonna get nothing. So you're looking at, you said even yours, which I think is high, 4 or 5 million to renovate it. If we tear it down and replace it, it's gonna cost us 20 or 30 or 40 million. So that's a whole lot cheaper, and I go all over the state and I see old high schools, old schools that are renovated, that are in pristine condition. And wouldn't you say that since the report in 19, had the air not been cut off in that area, that had not stacked junk in there, and all those things, and maybe some repairs done? You talked about the windows. There are some of the windows that are still in pretty good shape, but they won't be if you keep no air in there circulating, you keep dumping trash or trashy furniture in there, and you keep doing no maintenance or upkeep on it. That's part of the reason why it's worse, or all of the reason why it's worse off now than it was in 2019.
12,000 square foot building do not cost.
Ask you this, did you provide or can you provide the scope of work protocol from the industrial hygienist from your July report, as well as some spore count type or mold findings from the air contact testing? Did you provide that to us? Would you provide that to us?
Scope of work to do that.
But you have not provided that to us. Was that, or was it not part of your
part of the renovation
testing that you did?
But you need a little more details, like the drying out of the walls. Takes some time. You don't want to put anything back over a wall that's wet, because the mold will come back out in 6. The beams and like goes to the cross plate, the beam has to go down up with antimicrobial solutions. Dry, and the damp dirt needs to be dry, and do a paper barrier over it.
So what you're telling me, there are ways that things can be repaired, so repairs can be done. I see in your report in second paragraph here where you said in 2019 that the school system elected to close the 31 wing to students and staff. How would you know that? I don't think it happened, but I'm just curious of how you would know that from a report that you did in 24.
That's an error. I know that the health department and.
But sir, if you're gonna put a error in the second paragraph of your report, why should I believe anything in the rest of your report?
Just hearsay that I was told that it was a decision between the schools.
So a lot of these other things could be hearsay.
I don't think that, so I've done a good reputation, so.
Well, I do too, I guess, according to who you talk to.
I didn't come.
But that's the case with all of us.
I disagree with you, so.
You have your right to disagree, and as obviously you know, I disagree with you.
Mhm.
That's just the one I presented to you. That's the one I presented to you. I'm waiting on more information, and there may be more. But no, if you can't, you're getting upset because I'm questioning. We have the right to question.
Questioning, because there's reason that's in there. To help.
So,
And in fact, an error on my part, Mr. Thomas soon, as you always do. just from general conversation, it was a group effort to close it between the three groups.
I don't think it happened again. Okay. But I thank you for your.
Let me ask you a question. Mr. Childress, thank you for coming and giving us what information.
Hang on just a second. In the 2019 report, it actually says that it could be used, the periodic use of the auditorium until repairs are made is acceptable. Yeah, this is saying that it was voted to close it down. And it says the walkthrough was done on December the 30th, which is the next to last day of December. But then the board voted in 19 to close it down. Anyway, just some questions I have.
Appreciate your question.
And I appreciate your input. And you tolerating my questions.
Yes. It's a question.
Anybody else got anything?
I do, could you pull up when that vote was made and just share it with us in the email to you?
When which vote was made?
When the vote was made to shut it down. I mean,
We could go back and check. We could have them go back and
Look at
check.
it and see in
See if it
general.
happened.
I'll pull 20, well, if it was in, if that was, says December, we'll need to, I'll check the 19-20 school year, because it could have been anywhere at that point, so I'll.
Because we were still had permission to use it after that. So I wouldn't think they would still be, we would have still been having permission to use. I don't know that it was used, but we had permission to use it.
I do
after that.
recall, me and Mr. Carroll talking about moisture in the walls.
Oh, yeah.
And
I don't question
there was
that.
some talks about doing some sealing and stuff like that. I just can't recall when we did have an actual vote to, shut it down.
I don't recall any maintenance or upgrading being done to it since then either. Okay, Mr. Davis, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Childress, did I hear you elaborate at all? And once again, thank you for coming and giving us the information you've given us. This has been a thorn in us for a while, and we're trying to figure out what to do with it. But did I hear you elaborate on the actual crawl space moisture levels? Because anything over 12% starts to cause major issues. Did I hear you elaborate that they were over 12% or under at the time of testing?
Well, we didn't do the testing down underneath because we could see the moisture in the ground. It was wet.
But these are things that can be corrected before renovations, correct?
Can be.
Anybody?
Chairman, I will research over the weekend and see, I'll review the 2019-2020 school year minutes and see if there's been any information or action for the board on that. I'll let y'all know.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Atkins, and thank you, Mr. Childers.
Appreciate your time.
You have a great afternoon, sir.
At this time, we'll move down to action items, number 9.01, board member vacancy, Dr. Atkinson and, Mr. Grady.
Thank you, Chairman and board members. We have received, a letter of resignation from Mr. Keith Locklear, from the Board of Education, it's a District 3 seat. I'd like to ask Mr. Grady to discuss with the board. He's been researching this on the next steps that the board will need to take and what will be forthcoming. So Mr. Grady, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, I think the first step is there is a resignation by a board member. There's some question in the law as to whether or not a board is required to accept a resignation. But after consulting with the School of Government, or written by them, I think it's best that the board vote to accept the resignation immediately and declare the seat vacant. That's first recommendation. Then the question becomes, what happens after, if in fact the board declares the seat vacant? We again, a vague area of the law. I've been on the phone quite a bit. Most of y'all know Bob Joyce, Robert Joyce, the School of Government. He's been there for 30 years. And we looked at the statutes and the act that established partisan elections in Bladen County. And frankly, there is not a statute that specifically deals with filling a vacancy of a board member. However, there is a statute, 115C 37.1, that basically says that the vacating member was a member of a political party, and the person, board, or commission required to fill the vacancy shall consult with the county executive committee of that party and appoint the person recommended that by the party executive committee, providing they provide that person within 30 days. Problem with that statute, it lists all the counties that it applied to, and they left out Bladen. But after talking with Bob, and looking at an attorney general opinion, it's our belief that the legislature intended to include Bladen County. So it's our belief that the methodology of filling that vacancy will be one, to consult with the chairman of the county executive, or the Republican Party Executive Committee, because I believe he did affiliate with the Republican Party. The Republican Party would then have 30 days to provide a nomination to the board. The board would be required to accept that nomination.
Right.
However, when the executive committee meets, the only people on the executive committee that can vote will be people that live within the precinct that the vacating member or that his district is part of. You might have, for example, Collie precinct, and let's say that Collie, the district lines run right through Collie. Well, he might not live in the district where that board member lived and was elected from, but he's still in the precinct, so he could vote. So that's going to be the method. We would have to sit down with the executive committee, explain the methodology to them, and they would have 30 days to nominate a replacement. It looks to me, I pulled up the members, and I don't know if it's still active or not. It says 2024 executive board. It looks like there are only 5 members. But at any rate, at this point, I would recommend that the board vote to declare the seats vacant, to accept the resignation immediately and declare the seat vacant, and that we move forward with the replacement of the board member as specified in that statute.
Mr. Gray, just for clarification too, for that nomination would have to be someone residing in District 3, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to move forward with the
Second that motion.
opening of the seat.
Okay, so we have a motion to move forward
To accept
to accept the resignation. Okay,
I would ask that you add immediately to that.
Immediately. Okay, I have a motion that we accept the resignation of Ms. Locklear immediately. I have a motion.
And I
for that.
second that.
Yeah, I'm second, been moving properly second. Is there any discussion? There is none. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. All opposed likewise. With no opposition, and I don't think motion passes, so the resignation has been accepted. And this time, I'll entertain a motion that we go into closed session for the purpose of discussing personnel as per NCGS 143.3, to consult with an attorney if needed, as per NCGS 143.3, and to discuss student reassignment and student discipline as per the 1974 Family Rights and Privacy Act.
Move that we go in closed session.
Second.
It's been moved properly second. Any discussion?
Mm.